As I shared in a previous episode, one of my guiding questions over the course of the past few years has been, what is the price of peace in this situation? And as I've been studying A Course in Miracles last year, one of the areas that I was guided to do a deeper self-assessment of was where are those areas in my life where unforgiveness is still present. And that's been, kind of looking at probably about 6 years of very intentionally working on the practice of forgiveness, and from using a number of different approaches and methodologies, which I've alluded to in other videos. But in this case, what really became clear to me over the past week or so are some of the prices that I've been paying, specifically in terms of peace, for each of these unforgivenesses that I've held. And in a lot of cases, I've actually worked through the process or practice of forgiveness on that situation or relationship where I felt that I'd been harmed in some way. And what I uncovered was, in a lot of cases, kind of the big piece, was forgiven, but there were, portions of it that were still left unresolved. And so some of the costs that I've come to understand about this are the missed opportunity for connection, or subtly avoiding relationships where it felt like there was an inauthenticity. And I had an example come up like this last week with a family member, and I wasn't aware of it before we got deeply into a conversation that was quite challenging. And I realized that I'd been holding, and here's the ironic part, one of the things that we were talking about in this conversation was forgiveness. And I realized that I had been holding an unforgiveness towards them for something they'd said to a friend of mine last summer that had had an impact. They weren't even present to, which is why, one of the reasons I rationalized not speaking to them about it earlier. I knew it would be, a significantly bigger conversation than I felt ready to have. But as I look back at, a number of different times where there were little signs about this, like, they would say something minor and I'd remember back to that experience. I'd remember back to the look on my friend's face, when they heard it, and I'd still be holding that against them. And so there's a big price in terms of love and connectivity that was a result of that. The next one is continued suffering. So, like a cancer that we don't fully treat, unforgiveness, really pops up in the midst of challenging situations, and it just makes it harder to find resolution and communicate effectively with people that we love. As I've gotten present to it, has been pretty challenging. And then the third piece that I noticed was it stunts my growth and possibly theirs too. So one of the things that I've found as I've worked through some of these unforgivenesses that I've been hiding is the experience of freedom that I've found on the other side of working through that last part of the forgiveness has opened up so much. It just allows me to be present to what's really available in each moment, particularly within those relationships. And I didn't recognize that until after, I went through that last mile of working through complete forgiveness. And I don't pretend to, hold like, I've fully got this figured out, because I'm sure there will continue to be more layers of these onions that pop up. But for as deep as I've gotten today, I feel so much more freedom than the point where I was at, where, I might have gotten to like 80% forgiveness. And so these are the types of things that I've been recognizing as I've, really dug to, kind of find those extra layers or levels of forgiveness that are possible in each of my relationships.